Hi, welcome to SBR Sports Picks. His name is Mike Brenner. My name is Peter Loshak, and we are continuing our coverage of individual team previews in the NFL for the 2016 season. Right now, we're going to take a look at the New Orleans Saints.
Woo!
Mike Brenner. Now, the Saints, it's the same deal with the Saints this year as in all other years, right? Just a historically awful defense, and then an offense where Drew Brees definitely gets it done. Do they give him enough weapons to make the offense as productive as it would need to be to make up for the defense? I don't know what we're going to see this year. The win total is the season win total is low. It's 7. The under is minus 125. The over is minus 105. So the market appears to be kind of down on the Saints. Maybe it's justified given just how epically bad their defense is, and they've had salary cap issues, so they haven't been able to make the upgrades. They made a few additions, they drafted a few guys that are promising, but in general, it's looking bad once again for the Saints defense, right, Mike?
Pistol Pete, I love that breakdown, and I'm telling you, that is got to be one of the worst defenses ever. And I'll tell you, if Rob Ryan didn't leave that team in a frickin' mess, then I don't know who did. One thing I noticed about this team, I don't know how Sean Payton still has his job. 7-9 last year, and I know they won a Super Bowl. That was a hell of a long time ago, though, and they lost a lot of key ingredients. My biggest question to them is wide receiver, okay? There's not a whole lot around there that's big quality. Now, they're loaded with running back with Tim Hightower, and you got C.J. Spiller, and don't forget, you still got Mark Ingram. But how do you use them? They have not yet found how to use them correctly since all of them have been there, especially Spiller and Ingram, because Hightower's new. But what I think is going to happen this year is red hot fuego once again. The seat's hot for Sean Payton. Drew Brees, never bet against him, love the guy, competitor. He's got to be frustrated. But I think quietly, Pete, I think that team wins more than 7.
You think so?
I think they might go 8-8. They can even pull out a 9-7 year.
They could. What are the chances, though? And the other issues that
their defense can't get any worse.
And their offensive line, they don't have a lot of depth. So if they get a bunch of injuries on the offensive line, forget about it. It's going to look like the Chargers when you're a bunch of these teams we've seen when they have if they get a mark, and it's almost like because they're so vulnerable to injuries on the offensive line, you can almost feel that it's going to happen in week 2, and it's just going to be a lost season. I don't know. Would I bet the under at 7 minus 125? Probably not, but if I had to make a bet on it, that's the side I would take. I would take the under. I'm kind of down on the Saints. Drew Brees is great at what he does. He, before the snap, he reads the defense. He's that kind of quarterback who just keeps you in games with his smarts. But I just don't see the pieces, considering how many other teams in the NFL are looking so strong and have made improvements. I'm down on the Saints, Mike Brenner. I would lean towards the under with their season win total.
Wow, interesting. And you know what? There's one thing you can't dispute, and that's called father time. And Drew Brees, as good as he is, as strong as that arm is.
He takes a step back.
Yeah, he does. And he got beat up last year. He took some hits. He took some poundings. And another thing that happened with this team, when they let Jimmy Graham go, I think the veterans that were still there, it got inside their head too and said, wait a minute, they're not trying to build. We're not trying to. Because Jimmy Graham, say what you want, that guy made a difference in that offense. And Drew Brees would be the first to tell you they shouldn't have let him go. This team's a long way from recovering. I think it's Sean Payton's last coaching gig for a minute because I think he's going to get canned after this one. I don't even see him making it through the full season. But I do like Drew Brees, and if I had to, Pete, I would take the over, thinking they might.
Total. I mean, it is 7. You got to push at 7.
Exactly.
You got to win 6. They got to lose 10 or more games.
Exactly. And I think they win 2 against the Bucs. I think they even might get 1 against the Falcons because that's usually an air attack with him and Ryan. But as a whole, Pete, I don't know. That team's in trouble. I'm scratching my head, and I ain't got a lot of hair left, but I'm scratching my head as to why Sean Payton's still employed there.
The other thing I think I'm going to be looking to do, a few years ago, the Saints were, even when they were, in mediocre spots of their seasons, they would have a nice edge at home, and you'd look to bet them at home. But then in recent years, that completely reversed, and they started to become overvalued at home. I think we're going to see more of that this year. I'm definitely going to be looking to fade the Saints, particularly at home on their spreads, not necessarily to lose the games, but to be overvalued, and if they are favored against certain teams, to be too big of a favorite.
Can't argue that, because no matter what, it takes time to build a defense. And now you're taking an absolute mess that you were left. It looked like a tornado went through there, Pistol Pete. That defense looked terrible. So between that and everything else you mentioned, I just think Drew Brees himself might be able to pull out that 8 wins and, again, weak division, but we'll see what happens.
Yep, and if you do wind up fading the Saints this year, especially at home, make sure that you get the best line available at the time, and you can do that with using a free line service such as SBRodds.com. Free customizable line service. SBRodds.com.
NFL time.
Always on the go? Bet365 has one of the top mobile platforms in today's market. Sign up today and don't let your busy life keep you out of the game.